feel that certain things are easy, other things may be less easy, that most of them are actually resulting from the educational system. And that's what I always also tell myself when I get maybe a little impatient on things in the company, is that when we look at the Vietnamese educational system, it still comes very much from the teacher reads, and the children have to write, to sleep, or to listen, and that we are privileged actually here in international schools and also in that school to go beyond that. So the first message I wanna share is that we as parents actually should be the better teachers. So if the teachers are not the best teacher, who is actually then the most experienced teacher? And that's brings me to the second statement. The second statement is the trouble with learning to parent, to educate your children, is that you do that on the job with your child as the teacher. So, saying what that actually means is that all of us, especially those who may have got their first child, that they need to practice. But the person who actually teaches you is your own child, and that is maybe also a view on how we could see that in the concept which has been taught recently. The best way on how children actually going to learn is by teaching and explaining that to others. So the conclusion of that is that that the best teachers are actually the children, and they should know most of that. So the other thing I would like to share is, I mean, as we know, the start of a school is never a smooth run. Whoever set up a business experienced that it definitely takes probably 5 years to get things in the right place. And probably it's also fair to say that children, obviously, they prefer to have a very like a smooth and organized way, but when you look into the development of the children, then probably these kind of gaps which they experience, whether it has been language gaps or age gaps or gaps against expectation, that maybe those were even more helpful for them to learn. Myself, I have benefit very clearly from these interaction days, where we could go into the engine room of education. I found it very interesting. I asked myself, how is that with companies? Do companies normally allow you to see on how their products are being produced? I mean, if you're going to buy yourself some Nike shoes, they may not invite you directly to see the factory, but here in school we can do that, and I think that is a very nice way of sharing that, and I was amazed on with this kind of creativity and with this kind of sense, the teachers were actually able to achieve some learnings in a short period. I mean, that definitely goes much faster than if I would compare it in my own company, but the principles we can learn from that are obviously very similar. So that's definitely something which was very enjoyable. Other than that, I hope I still stayed in the 9 minutes. I would like to thank all of the management team who embarked on that journey. As we know, the wind sometimes comes from the back, sometimes come from the front, so we have to accept that. Also the teachers, which I think did a fabulous job in not always the easiest times they could experience, but I'm sure for next year that will definitely will show, and we will see the results of that, and then obviously also the children who put some color onto the stage and some nice presentation which shows the true creativity of the children, because there's nobody as creative as children, and that's wonderful to see. So thanks for your patience, and apologies that it was a bit not in sync with the written speech, because this is something which maybe reminds me a bit of the traditional speech of the politician. So enjoy the rest of the morning, and have a safe trip and a safe holiday, and thank you. thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Dutz. And as he has already said, we've been enjoying some great performances all morning, and we are now going to enjoy our final performance, presented by grades 5 and 6. So please give them a round of applause. They're coming now on stage. I would now like to welcome Mr. Derek Widmer on stage, President of Education Suisse.
Dear Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, and last but not least, dear students, I'm very impressed from the performance here, and that shows me that you're really getting quality education at GIS. Thank you for this fabulous performance. This is my 4th trip to Vietnam. I was here, believe it or not, the first time during the war in 1965, but I was so scared looking out of the plane that I didn't leave the airport, but I took the first plane out of Saigon, which Ho Chi Minh City then was called, and left. 30 years later, I came back in my capacity as a Holcim executive, visiting a modern cement plant of Holcim in the south at the border with Cambodia. And I was impressed by the ships with the clinker from this plant arriving north of Ho Chi Minh City and being processed in the nearby mill. Particularly, I was then very impressed by the dynamics of this country and the industrious population. Having been pensioned in the meantime, I had another chance to come to this wonderful country 5 years ago when I investigated with the help of John Din the possibilities to have a Swiss section in one of the international schools here, or to create a completely new Swiss schools with the help of local investors. There are only 2 Swiss schools in Asia, one in Singapore and the other one in Bangkok. We in Europe believe that the music today is being played in Asia, and it will become more and more important over the next year. The industrialization and the huge potential of this country is certainly will create more expats here, Swiss and European expats that will come to work in Vietnam in a bigger way. That's what we believe. This is why Education Suisse has decided to seriously study the possibility of establishing a Swiss school, or at least a Swiss section, in an existing international school in Vietnam. The fact that your school, GIS, is teaching half in English, half in German, should make your school attractive for children of expats. It is already attractive, but it will become more attractive. This concept should also be a good selling point for Vietnamese children. Now I'm here in Vietnam for the 4th time in order to find out whether there is an interest on part of Swiss and maybe German or other parents to develop a close collaboration between Education Suisse, the association of the Swiss schools abroad, together with the German International School. And from what I have seen last night, I believe there is a big interest. But let me give you first some background on the Swiss schools abroad. There are 18 Swiss schools abroad, most of them in Europe and Latin America. Over 7,500 students in all these 18 schools abroad. We have 1,800 Swiss nationalities, 275 Swiss teachers, and more than 600 local and international teachers. All schools are subsidized by the Swiss government. On average, 25% of the total cost of the school are sponsored by the Swiss government. Switzerland is also supporting other schools, mainly German schools, in schools where you find 15 Swiss children per school. In the case of Ghana, Accra, the school is run jointly between Germany and Switzerland. So we have all sorts of collaboration. The Swiss government is now preparing a new law for the promotion of Swiss schools or Swiss sections in existing international schools. Up to now, in order to get government subsidies, a school needs to have 20% children, depending a bit on the size of the school. Under the new law, this requirement will no longer exist. The schools will be able to become bigger, more self-supporting in the long run. The reason behind this is the following. These official Swiss schools are today considered by the Swiss government as an important network base, and in this sense, a bridge between the foreign guest country and Switzerland. Given the high quality standard of the teaching of all the Swiss schools, they contribute to the positive image of Switzerland. It also helps to exchange students from the guest country with Switzerland. Furthermore, it gives the students with local Abitur, Matura, or an international baccalaureate an opportunity to study in Switzerland or in Germany after finishing the Swiss school in the host country. But last but not least, I wanted to convey the greeting of the Board of Education Suisse and the good wishes for a successful school at the new location. It is the sincere wish of Education Suisse to have in the future a close cooperation with GIS. The details of this cooperation have to be discussed further. Thank you very much for your attention.